RP Show continues on Football Black Friday. As sports fans, there's nothing we love more than a comeback. In the game against wrinkles, scars, and acne, it's never too late to revitalize your skin with Aloterra Naturals. I appreciate all those that have checked them out and used the promo code RP20 for 20% off your first order at Aloterra.com. Apparently, a lot of you have, so thank you. Very excited, as always, to bring in Jim Barker. And before we get to, Coach, to our specific CFL-related questions, I'm kind of interested in where your focus is right now with NFL Week 13, college football playoffs nigh, a couple of weeks away, and then CFL free agency and the coaching carousel. What's got your attention the most right now?
I'm kind of all over the yard. I mean, I'm anxious to watch Colorado today. I think that'll be Oklahoma State. I don't know why they're so bad, but so I'm into college football. The NFL, obviously. I mean, anytime on Thanksgiving you watch a coach absolutely kick the can like the Bears guy did yesterday. I mean, that it just blows my mind that I see it. On Thanksgiving Day, you just don't. I don't know. It was, and on John Madden Day, you put it all together, and it was just wrong. And then obviously the Giants came out and played like the Giants, and again, I'm not sure what exactly they're trying to do there, so I'm watching the NFL but also following very closely the CFL and some of the shenanigans and bizarre things going on with front office and coaching and all those kinds of things that go on this time of the year, just prior to the first of the year.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get to that, and I'm glad you brought that up. But for those, NFL is front and center. And from the Wire copy here, poor clock management proved costly for the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving Day. They were in Detroit territory in the final minute, but didn't use their final timeout. The clock ran out. Lions won 23-20, giving Detroit their 10th victory in a row. How did Matt Eberflus, the Bears coach, flub that from your perspective?
I don't know if maybe the play that happened just before it got to 32 seconds, watching his left tackle absolutely stand there and let a guy go drill Caleb Williams for a loss that took him out of field goal range. My guess is it shook him. It's like, what was that? How can that happen? He didn't even slow the guy up, and they have 32 seconds left. If they were in field goal range, they could have. Again, they had a timeout, but if they were going to try to kick a field goal without a timeout, they would have needed to have 17 or 18 seconds is the normal time that we give for running a team on and kicking a field goal to win. So with 30 seconds left, they could have done that. They had the timeout. Why Eberflus? What's it got to 10 seconds? I mean, take a timeout. Say, okay, Caleb, you got to get rid of the ball quick. You can't hold it expecting to get a touchdown. Just get the ball on an outcut. Get us another 7-8 yards to make this field goal possible so that we could go to overtime. I thought that's where he kind of dropped the ball. Again, Caleb Williams is a young quarterback. 32 seconds left. He's got to get up on the ball and ideally snap the ball within 10 seconds. I'm sure you're getting the call from upstairs at the time, but he's moving people around and taking his time and looking at the defense and acting like a rookie quarterback, which I guess he is, and hopefully he'll learn from that. But it was just, I mean, the Lions, I thought, played great early and then just kind of slept their way through the second half and kept the Bears in it. And then Caleb Williams, he's a talented dude now. I mean, he can throw the ball, and he made a couple of phenomenal throws to get them back into the game. But again, they had a pass interference call that wasn't pass interference that got him down there. And
exactly,
so maybe that was karma and the gods saying, you know what, we're not going to let the referees do this. So you're going to just botch up this final minute. You're going to go to the locker room at the end of the game. You're going to have that timeout in your pocket and feel good about you could have called a timeout. I don't know.
They should have turned it over.
Blew me away.
Yeah. It was a turnover on downs, all those things. But they don't call them mistakes anymore, Jim. As you know, they call them teachable moments. So the Bears had a lot coming out of that. Okay, so to the CFL, I don't know where you want to start. Could the fact that Cody Fajardo's been shown the door in Montreal? Okay, with what's going on in Montreal, can you play? Davis Alexander has signed a 3-year extension. He's gone from backup to the face of the franchise real fast, and Cody Fajardo's deciding what he's going to do about it.
Yeah, and again, this is a big move, and there's a big difference between going in as Davis Alexander, the backup to Cody Fajardo, and going in as Davis Alexander, the face of the franchise for the next 10 years, I think Danny Machocha called him. And, he's 26 years old. He's shown signs that he can be the guy, but he hasn't shown he can be the guy. I mean, he played well for 4 games. That's less than what Zach Collaros did when Kent Austin basically cut Henry Burris to bring him in as a starter. So, again, these are tough decisions, and I admire Danny for making it. They went out on a limb, and they made it, and is it right? Is it wrong? Nobody's going to know right away. For Cody, I don't know why I have this feeling he's going to retire, that he's just not going to go be a backup somewhere. He might stay there and be a backup. And eventually go into coaching because he's that type. He's got that coaching type of thought process and that type of thing. But that's a tough situation. Very tough for Danny Machocha and Jason Moss because of all Cody did. I mean, he took him and won a Grey Cup, and is that a tough? It's absolutely tough. They would have lost Davis Alexander. Somebody would have given him an opportunity, I believe. I'm not sure who, because right now everything's kind of moved around. But again, credit to them for making the decision. I hope for their sake it's the right one. Because if it's not, it'll come back to get them in a hurry. What happens with Cody? You would know better than anybody because you're as close to Cody as anybody. And again, I don't know why I have this feeling that he's gonna retire, but I just got this feeling that he's not gonna go be a backup somewhere and go through that.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like. Money, he doesn't need the money. They just had their second baby. Sometimes you get kicked around enough. It's like, you know what? I'm good. But like you say, he's got a lot to pass on. He's got the work ethic. He'll be fine. Wait for the smoke to clear and not make any rash decisions now, like maybe trading Vernon Adams to the Calgary Stampeders. What does that do to the CFL West? What a bomb that was that went off this week.
Well, again, it didn't surprise me because of Beau Baldwin being there, and they didn't actually get as much for him as I thought they might. They did not get a first-round draft pick. They had some exchange of picks and that type of thing. I think they maybe were worried about him going to Edmonton with Rick Campbell, and to nip that at the bud, they went ahead and traded him before that happened. For Calgary, it's an interesting signing because Vernon's very different from the quarterbacks they've had. You probably go back to Henry Burris. My first guy I signed as a GM in 2005 was Henry Burris. And he's the same type of quarterback as Vernon, runs very well, can move around, has a strong arm, does all those kinds of things. But the quarterbacks they've been playing with have been more the Dave Dickinson, Bo Levi Mitchell, Jake Mayer. Those guys have been the type of quarterback and the system they've been in. So, there's going to be a minor change, I'm guessing, in their system. It's good for Vernon because he's going to get a team. He's going to have PJ Walker there, who, again, I think it's good for PJ Walker because if he can have the patience to learn and watch Vernon and the things he does, Vernon's contract is steep, and it's going to be interesting. But I think what it does is now Calgary is a completely different deal. Who knows what's going to happen in Edmonton? I mean, we don't know. Is it going to be McLeod Bethel Thompson? They have to hire a coach first? And I hear that could be anybody from Rick Campbell, who everybody's saying, to Mark Killam, who I think is a dark horse for that people aren't talking a lot about, but I think he's a guy who's very involved. He's from there. He went to school at University of Alberta, and he's he's a little bit like the Davis Alexander versus Cody Fajardo. Rick Campbell's been in it a long time. You know what you're getting in terms of everything. With Mark Killam, you don't know. Are you getting Dan Campbell? I mean, you just don't know. So that wouldn't shock me to see Mark Killam get that job. So you get fired in Calgary and then potentially get hired as a head coach in the league, which would be pretty amazing. So again, the CFL, Rod, I just got to say that it's, when you look at what's going on, okay, so the three finalists in Hamilton are Ted Govaya and Geroy Simon and Kyle Carson from Saskatchewan. Those are the three finalists interviewing this weekend. This is all stuff, you just hear. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody in Hamilton, but that's what I'm hearing is the final three. And Hamilton has hired Wally Buono, who the last time a team hired Wally Buono was Edmonton, and they blew the whole thing up, not even 3 years in, fired everybody. So Wally Buono's helping again. Now, Geroy Simon ended up there. If Geroy Simon was to get that job, you'd basically have two of the three teams that didn't make the playoffs swapping front offices, with Geroy going to Hamilton and then Ed Hervey and potentially some of their guys they had there, Spencer Zimmerman and such, going to Edmonton. So it could be, I mean, that to me is just fascinating that the two, three teams don't make the playoffs and two of them could be swapping front offices. So it's, again, I would expect Ted Govaya is going to be a leading guy in Hamilton, but, you don't know. Getting that first GM job can always be tough.
Yeah, well, I think we'd like to see new blood. The rotating carousel of this is fascinating is one word for it, but I'd like to see some new people, I feel like you have an affinity or affection for Calgary because you spent so much time there. I wonder if what your take is, and my last question here, on the former players saying they're a franchise in decline. Has that changed with the Vernon Adams acquisition, do you think? You go along? You've seen the comments, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's, again, they have problems beyond their quarterback situation. I mean, the facilities, they need a new state. When I was there, when I left basically in 2009, and they had just built offices and things. But the basic locker room area, the stadium is just, it's old and dated. And they have Huff has, he runs it very tight. He's not a believer in paying free agents. That's just not, I mean, they don't go out and get free agents. They find their own guys. And he's been that way, for a long time. And what happens is you lose a lot of core players. I mean, I think you saw Ryan Dinwiddie this week say Wynton McManus is as important a guy for them to sign as anybody because he's a core player. Now, are they going to overpay him? They absolutely are going to overpay him. Every team in the league is going to say, I can't believe they're paying him that. But he is that important to that franchise. And you have those kind of players that keep everything together. And I think Calgary has maybe not recognized that lately. And I think a lot of those players that have moved on and said, they just let our good guys go, the guys that are important. And that's more important than, trying to keep those guys there. That's what I'm guessing it is. Again, Dave has been there now for a few years. And is he getting stale? He's now the GM, which you know how I feel about head coach GM and how everything changes then because and that goes to Don Matthews, why he never was a GM. He said, as soon as I'm the one who they think is deciding how much they're making, I'm not one of them anymore. I'm not part of the locker room. I'm now part of the front office. And he always felt that was a real detriment, that you needed to have that separation. And, so it's I don't know that a lot of these guys that are doing that understand that you have to maintain that separation. So but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered it all here, man. This has been fantastic. I'll say happy Thanksgiving to you, Jim, and enjoy the football this weekend. We'll talk to you in a week.
Oh, well, thanks, Rod.
The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker. So we'll unpack all of that when we come back in a Sports Update 2 viewer takeover. Jacoby Cofield, former Redskins Seahawk, Rough Rider, El Camo. He's coming up in hour 2 at his request. I can't wait. We'll be back here briefly after this pause on Game Plus Television, streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, of course, and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.